every person who is charged with a criminal offense is entitled to defend himself in person or by a legal practitioner of his own choice.
Remember that an individual is entitled to remain silent.
Every citizen in Nigeria is entitled to maintain a private life.
You are approaching a military checkpoint or a police checkpoint without knowing that it's against or it offends them and subject you to a frog jump. That is wrong.
Hi viewers, you're welcome to another episode of the program Justify Nigeria on the Advent Cable Network Nigeria Television ACNN. Chapter 4 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, CFRN, spells out a number of fundamental human rights that every citizen of Nigeria should possess and enjoy. These rights are very fundamental because these are not to be tampered with unless we are the exceptions provide otherwise on any of the rights. It is important to state here, for the purpose of clarity, that these rights are personal and collective. It is personal because every individual who is a Nigerian is entitled to these rights, and it is collective because several groups may wish to enforce their rights, especially when violated. In spite of how fundamental the Constitution made these rights to be, it is regrettable to note that some people's rights are being violated in this country on a daily basis. It is either the privileged is oppressing the less privileged, or the high and mighty is suppressing their subordinates with impunity and reckless abandon, thus violating their rights. In today's episode of the program, we are going to examine some of those rights and discuss probable and efficient ways of enforcement. With me in the studio to do justice to this is a member of the Managing Council, Sandalwood Solicitors, Notary Public, Chartered Mediator and Arbitrator, Intellectual Property Expert, and of course, an Abuja-based lawyer. He is Barrister Chinedu Nwankwo. Barrister Chinedu Nwankwo, you are welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
No, in clear terms, oftentimes we talk about Section 34 and 35 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Can you, in its entirety, explain to us and talk to us what these sections are all about?
Okay, thank you. And thank you for having me here today.
Thank you.
In accordance with our discussion, we are talking about Chapter 4 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended.
As amended, yes.
Yeah, so for a proper understanding of what we are going to be talking about, because you have mentioned Section 34
Yes.
and Section 35
Exactly.
of the Constitution.
Yes.
But before diving into that, why don't we make our viewers understand what you mean by fundamental human rights?
Please go ahead. That's the essence of the program.
Thank you.
Talk to
So,
us.
when we say something is fundamental, it simply means it's basic,
Okay?
it's primary,
Okay?
it's chief. That means it's the first thing you need to do before any other thing. You need to consider that because it is fundamental, it is basic. Now, when we say fundamental human rights, we are talking about those rights that come with us.
Okay?
It means those rights that we did not acquire. Because when you acquire something, you have rights over it.
Yes.
For instance, you acquire a piece of land, you have rights over that piece of land.
Of course.
It is a right.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then, in this case, you are talking about fundamental human rights. In other words, you are saying that you are talking about those inalienable rights.
Please explain inalienable. Let's understand, please, so that let's understand, so that an ordinary man will understand what you mean by inalienable rights.
Yes. So when you say
Educate
something,
us.
so when you say a right is inalienable,
That's right.
It simply means you got that right from being a human being. From
Okay.
is your childbirth. If you are, is your right
Okay.
as a human being. Your birthright, if you like. So when you say something is inalienable, you cannot separate it. You cannot detach it from you.
Okay.
It is part of you as a human being. It is part of your existence. It comes with you from birth. That is what
So
we
as
mean.
soon as a baby is
He's
born,
he has that
automatically
right.
that right is vested upon
Yes,
that person.
that right is vested upon the
take it,
person.
take
So
it.
that is inalienable.
Okay.
That is what we mean by fundamental human rights.
rights.
They are not the rights that are acquired. They are the rights that came with
Inherent.
you. Inherent. Came with you as a human being.
That's right.
Now, over to Section 34
Yes.
and Section 35 you mentioned.
Please, what is Section 34? Because
Section-
yeah, exactly, what is it all
Section
about?
34 talks about right to the dignity of human person.
Okay.
Dignity of human
So
person.
anytime we see Section 34 of
It's
the
talking about
Constitution,
dignity.
it's dignity.
It's dignity.
Please talk to us on that.
So now when you talk about dignity, for a proper understanding of what dignity is all about too, I want to assume we don't know what dignity means.
Yes, yes.
In simple terms, dignity simply means due respect for lawyers. You see, due respect accorded to somebody. Dignity means worthiness. Dignity means self-respect accorded to another. That is dignity. In other words, if you say right to dignity of human person, that means as you are, as I am, I'm supposed to accord respect to you as a human being and vice
So
versa.
it's reciprocal.
Yes. So all of us, every human being is created and has that right to be protected. In other words, you do not have any right to disrespect me. I do not have any right to disrespect you. We should accord each other, one another, respect. It's reciprocal.
That's right.
Thank you.
Then you delve into the other section we talked about. What is it about Section 35?
Okay,
You just,
section-
you just
yes.
explained 34 now.
Exactly.
Let's get 35 before we concatenate them.
Exactly.
So Section 35.
Now, Section 35 talks about right to personal liberty. And I may tell you again that for us to properly understand what we are talking about,
Yes.
let us assume we don't know what liberty means.
Yes.
Liberty simply means freedom.
Okay.
Free. You need to be free as a human being, as your rights, as your childbirth. You need to be free. Nobody needs to bundle you. Nobody needs to subject you to any form of inhuman treatment. Nobody needs to bundle you to one corner. Nobody needs to imprison you except in accordance with the law.
Okay.
So when we talk about personal liberty, we're simply talking about freedom. A human being needs to exercise
that
freedom.
freedom.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Are there some practical examples to illustrate maybe however when these rights are being violated so that our viewers will understand and know their rights in case if they are violated, both Section 34 and Section 35.
Okay.
Just give an illustration so that for better understanding.
Okay, let us begin with Section 34, which talks about right to dignity
Of person.
human person.
Yes.
Now, when you talk about right to dignity of human person, you go further to Section 1, Sub A, B, and C, which talk about that as a human being, you are not supposed to be subjected to inhuman treatment or torture.
Okay.
We're talking about dignity. So when we talk about self-respect, when we talk about worthiness, we talk about due respect. You're not supposed to, because you are in a position of authority, you're not supposed to subject me to inhuman treatment because it is my birthright. I am not expected to be subjected to torture. That is the Section 34, Sub 1A of the 1999 Constitution. And then when you go to Sub B,
Okay.
it talks about you are not supposed to, by virtue of you being a human being, are not supposed to be subjected to slavery or servitude.
Servitude, please
Servitude.
explain that.
That
sir.
is slave.
Slave, all
That
right.
is-
Okay,
yes.
very well.
So
Okay.
that's why I use the word slavery or servitude.
Servitude.
They mean the same thing.
Okay.
You're not supposed to be subjected to that state of affairs.
Okay.
Because maybe you are superior, you are in a position better than I am, so you feel that because I'm a nobody, that is what some people feel. You now subject me to slavery. Okay?
Okay.
the law opposes that. Okay. And then when you move away from sub B and goes to sub C
Yes.
of section 34 sub 1,
Yes.
it talks about you are not supposed to be subjected to, okay, I have talked about torture.
Yeah,
I have
exactly.
talked about, okay, inhuman treatment.
Yes, inhuman treatment. Okay.
So these are the provisions of the Constitution. Okay. For instance, let me give an example of section 34. Now, I am driving across a checkpoint.
Okay.
Maybe I did not know that taking a phone call while at the checkpoint is an offense to the officer, although not in
You
our
have
laws.
a better illustration. We discovered that you are trying to illustrate based on what you're explaining.
Yes.
And in that illustration, you are also going to answer the question where police people, in the course of their investigation, you see them torturing people and all that. But many and more of this you will answer when we come back from break.
Thank you.
Hi, you're welcome to The Speaker, the program that treats tropical issues and the polity. The debate on whether or not there is relationship between the law and the Bible still rages on. Oftentimes, some people make negative assessment toward those who are in the legal profession, especially lawyers, judges, and justices. On The Speaker for today, we are going to establish the fact that there is a very good synergy and perfect relationship between the law and the Bible. In fact, I dare say, the best people to associate yourself with are those in the noble profession. That is lawyers, judges, and the justices. In establishing these facts, we shall be taking section 36 subsection CC of 1999 Constitution and section 268 subsection 1 of Criminal Procedure Code, CPC, as our pivots. Right to Defense Counsel, section 36 sub 6C of 1999 Constitution. This guarantees that every person who is charged with a criminal offense is entitled to defend himself in person or by a legal practitioner of his own choice. This is also in pari material with the provisions of section 211 of the Criminal Procedure Act, CPA. Therefore, any law which prohibits the appearance of a legal practitioner before any court or tribunal is unconstitutional and consequently null and void. I refer you to the case of Uzodema against Commissioner of Police, reported 1982-1, NCR Part 27. Let's look at its biblical concepts. My dear children, I write this to you so that you will not sin. But if anyone sin, we have an advocate with the Father, Jesus Christ, the righteous one. He is the atoning sacrifice for our sins, and not only for us, but also for the sins of the whole world. 1 John chapter 2, verses 1 to 2. From the above scripture, it is obvious to discover that we have a right to the ultimate and everlasting counsel and advocate, who is Jesus Christ. As people of God, the only source of help we need in life is Jesus Christ. He is the author and finisher of our faith. So says Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2. On the other hand, if the accused person chooses counsel who is subject to other limitations, and such limitation prevents the counsel from defending him, he cannot complain that his rights of counsel of his own choice have been denied. This was well celebrated in Awolowo and others against Minister of Internal Affairs and others. It was reported in 1962, LLR Part 177. It is regrettable to know that the people of God who are called to be distinguished have chosen by themselves counsels who are subject to various limitations, such as native doctors, occultic practices, and so on. It is high time we left the wrong choice and choose rightly and wisely. Remember, the only right and perfect choice of an advocate we can make in our lives is our Savior, Jesus Christ. Written judgment before delivery. It is recorded in section 268, subsection 1 of Criminal Code, CPC. Any judgment that is pronounced in open court before it is reduced to writing is an oral judgment. To that extent, that judgment is void. This is because Section 268, subsection 1 of the Criminal Procedure Code, CPC, specifically provides and requires that every judgment of the court must be written before it is pronounced. Even where a judge reduces his judgment into writing after it has been delivered orally, the judgment is still void. This is because once a judge delivers a judgment in a case, he becomes factus officio, that is, has discharged his duties, and therefore can no longer amend his invalid judgment by reducing it to writing. This was well established in the case of Unakalamba against the Commissioner of Police. It was reported 1958, 3 Federal Supreme Courts, 7. Let's look at its biblical concepts. This doctrine and concept of mandatory written of judgment before delivery derives its validity and basis from Revelation chapter 20, 11, and 12. To it, then I saw a great white throne, and him who was seated on it. The earth and the heavens fled from his presence, and there was no place for them. And I saw the dead, great and small, standing before the throne, and books were opened. Another book was opened, which is the book of life. The dead were judged according to what they had done, as recorded in the books. Let us bear in mind that all we do in this life is recorded and written. Whether we did them in the secrets or open, sometimes, all the time, commission or omission, mistake or perfection, one day we shall stand before God on the final judgment day to give accounts of our deeds. For anyone who still have doubts on whether or not there is relationship between the law and the Bible, I believe that Section 36, subsection 6C of the 1999 Constitution as amended, and Section 268, subsection 1 of the Criminal Procedure Code, CPC, would have cleared your doubts. My name is Anoze Chinomso, and guess what? I just want to speak. Thank you. I'm glad to know that you are still there. Before we went on break, Barrister Chinedu is still here to do justice to the questions. You are trying to illustrate, giving an example of maybe when you are driving and you are receiving a call. And I'm trying also to let you know, to explain to us the position of law, because we hear many times police say they will torture somebody for him to, you know, vomit or give essential information that will help them in their investigation. Vis-a-vis, what is the position of law based on that as regards to Section 34 and 35 of the 1999 Constitution?
Yeah, thank you. Of course, as we are already discussing, torture, except the exception to torture, is when it is done in accordance with the law. In other words, except where the law or there is a court pronouncement that the person should be subjected to so and so. Any other form of torture inflicted to a human being by agencies of the federal government,
like police,
the police,
military,
the army, just name them.
Okay.
It is wrong. It runs counter to the provisions of the Constitution. Okay, as I mentioned before, if you go to Section 34, sub 1A, A talks about inhuman treatment, B talks about slavery and servitude, then C talks about subjecting someone to forced labor. Do you understand me?
Okay.
So all of these are the position, they are the right you have as a human being.
Okay.
So they can be done otherwise with, or let me put it this way, the exception or the exceptions to these provisions of the Constitution are when it is done in accordance with the law. And the example I cited for you is court pronouncement. And now, as you ask, what is the position of the law as regards the incessant experiences we have with the police or the military torturing people?
Yes.
And I have said that is not in accordance with the law. Okay? The example I wanted to give you is you are approaching a military checkpoint or a police checkpoint without knowing that is against or it offends them. And then they see you while you making a call, ask you to come down and subject you to a frog jump. That is wrong. That is debasing your worthiness.
Which is contrary to this section you're talking about.
That is debasing your worthiness. They are not supposed to do that. You have a right to protect, to the protection of your personal dignity as a human being. Okay? And that is why you also have some international instruments like African Charter on Human and People's Rights. Okay. The Section 34 is replicated in Article 5 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, which are of the same provision.
That means human rights is a universal
We also have Universal Declaration of Human Rights. They are all talking about the same thing. These are international instruments. You know, that goes to tell you the importance of human rights, the importance of protecting human rights.
Okay, now recently we see a show around people that they said revolution now, something like. And you saw the protests that military people and police came. Some of them were asked to lie down, and some of them were booted. You know, what is the position of law? And I mean, is it in accordance with Section 34 and 35?
There is nowhere in our laws you will find that. You know, for the police or for security agencies to subject any human being to torture or any form of forced labor, simply means that they have taken the laws into their hands. Okay? Yes. The right thing to be done is, if you feel they are violating the law, arrest them. That is where your right to personal liberty comes to an end, because you are suspected to have infringed upon another person's rights.
So that means this right is not unlimited. There's exceptions.
There are exceptions. It's unlimited. Yes.
Please name some of the exceptions, just like you have given one now. Can we just have another maybe illustration of
that is section 35.
Yes.
When you come to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, you find that in Article 6. Okay.
Okay.
Now, the exceptions, I will mention just a few.
Okay.
I have mentioned one.
One, yes.
Another one is for a minor who is below the age of 18 years. Okay? So your freedom to personal liberty can be infringed upon where your parents want you to attend school. It is for your own good.
So you can't say I don't want to attend school.
No. Much as you are below 18 years, you cannot say you don't want to attend school. Do you understand me? Then another example.
And if they force you to go to school, you cannot turn action on them that they are breaching your rights.
No.
Because you are still a minor.
You're still a minor. You're a young person. You are less than 18 years. You know, it is expected that once you are 18 years.
Quick one. So if I'm 18 years, they cannot.
They cannot subject you to. They cannot infringe on your.
So they can't force me to go to school or something like that.
No, they cannot force you. They can only recommend. Do you understand me? Then another example is maybe in defense, right?
Yes.
Or a classical example is in the times we are in right now. You will recall that at the breakout of COVID-19, the Federal Republic of Nigeria joined the League of Other Nations to declare a restriction in movements.
Lockdown.
Lockdown. That is for the reason of health, public health, so that people who are infected with the virus will not spread it.
Okay, and people that are not will not contact it.
Exactly.
So in that situation, if you are found government and you will not say somebody has breached your right of freedom.
No. That is the limit. Another limit is also where it is for the public morality, for the interest of the public, that your movement be infringed upon. The government can do that. And in that case, you cannot bring any action against the government, because it is in the interest of morality or the public. These are some of the exceptions. There are other exceptions, but I just mentioned a few. But the one you need to bear in mind that is staring at everybody's face is the COVID-19. There is lockdown everywhere. So at this instance, you cannot complain of your freedom to personal liberty being infringed upon.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We oftentimes when they arrest somebody, you will see the person carrying out the arrest, or maybe police officer or any officer of the law, they will tell you, you have the right to remain silent, for whatever you say or do will be used against you in the court of law. I think they are quoting section 35 sub 2. What is the position of law if, for example, you are coming to arrest me? Does it mean that by that reminding me that I cannot speak? I want to wonder, because they say you have the right to remain silent. Does it mean I cannot speak or ask questions? Or what is the position of law based on that? Because they say it everywhere. You have the right to remain silent for whatever thing you do. What is the position of law based on that?
Okay, thank you very much. To buttress that, I would also refer us to section 6, sub 2, A and B of the Administration of Criminal Justice, 2015.
2015.
Yes.
It's a universal law, am I correct?
It's not universal, it's a Nigerian legislation.
Okay, legislation, which is also legal, of course, you can
Yes,
cite
it's legal,
it.
yeah.
Very well.
So it's in peri passu with the provisions of the Constitution, section 35, sub 2. Okay? Now, when you are arrested on the suspicion of having committed an offense,
Yes.
you know that at that time, you are under the watch of the security agencies. Okay? It is advisable that you are not in a hurry to make any statement. Okay? So what happens is they will warn you, because the police owe you the duty to let you know your right in order for you to elect whether you want to exercise that right or not. They tell you you have you have the right to remain silent, because whatever you say will be used against you in the court of law. Now, the importance of that is that if you say anything, it's a statement that has been made. You cannot retract it. You may have said it without consulting with somebody or your legal practitioner, your counsel. Okay? That is not to mean that if you refuse to say, and before you say, you would have consulted your counsel to change your statement. No. That is not it. Because as a layman, you do not understand the workings of the law. In other words, it serves your best interest for you to remain silent. So they need to inform you of that right, so that you elect whether or not to exercise it.
It means they are doing you good.
They are doing you good.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So the suspect may choose to remain silent until he has spoken with his counsel,
which is better oftentimes.
Or somebody he has confidence in.
Okay.
You speak with the person before you finally make a statement.
Okay. Now, Barrister, when these laws are being violated or being breached upon, are there remedies? For example, these people now that are protesting, and because I know that protest is also guaranteed, provided it's a peaceful one. But when are being, subjected to just like torture and all that, are there procedure by which you can, enforce these rights in the court of law?
Yes, the Constitution has also made provisions, and we also have a legislation which is fundamental enforcement procedural rules. Okay? 2009. Those rules provide for step-by-step approach on how a citizen whose right has been infringed upon can have them addressed through your legal representation, to your lawyer, of course. So when you're right, you feel that your right has been trampled upon, the first step is for you to meet your lawyer. Your lawyer.
That's where you will come in.
Yes, that is where we come in. We look at your stories, and then if we feel that you have a good case, then we'll file for you. We present a case at the High Court or at the Federal High Court, as the case may be, to enforce your right. And in that case, we are asking the court to declare that the kind of treatment that has been meted out on you runs contrary to the provisions of the Constitution, which has guaranteed those rights you are complaining about.
That's right. So in just 1 minute, because we are out of time, can you just what do you have for the masses, for the guests out there? That how can they exercise their right? What do you just in few minutes time just advise
Yes, my advice to the viewers is that oftentimes most people do not understand or do not know their rights. Okay, the police will molest you. The police will subject you to torture. The police will restrict your movement. They will detain you unfairly or unreasonably. And when you come out, you feel, okay, I'll leave it for God. That is not correct, because if you do that, you are encouraging them to do more. So the purpose of this program is to educate you, the viewers.
That's right.
That you have a right. Your rights are guaranteed under the Constitution. And that when you feel your right has been trampled upon, all you need to do is to see your lawyer. Your lawyer knows what to do, and he'll take it off from there.
Wow, thank you very much, Barrister Chinedu. We appreciate it. I hope you come next time when we invite you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Viewers, there is no doubt that you have learned one or two things on sections 34 and section 35 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. It is interesting to note that the Constitution has made these rights available to you. It is advised that you should know these rights, master the exceptions, bearing in mind that where one's right stops is where another person's right starts. It is also advised that you should take advantage of the procedure and ways we just discussed to enforce your rights once there is any breach or violation of your rights. Until we come your way in the next episode of the program, it is Anozechi Nomso saying bye-bye and have a pleasant day.